So we're still on our coverage of the Commission of Inquiry, the Military Commission of Inquiry sitting. Let's bring you some highlights of what's been happening so far. Well, Inspector General of Police David Asante Apietu has been revealing to the Commission that he was not given prior information about the SWAT operation conducted by security operatives during the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency by-election. The scores of masked men, as you are well aware of, were seen firing shots during that, and that firing of shots indeed has been a bone of contention at this sitting, and we also saw several injuries. Questions have been raised about the police's level of information in that operation. But when he took his turn today at the commission that's probing the election violence, the IGP said he had not been briefed on that particular operation before it was rolled out.
Not disputing the fact that my regional commanders and others didn't know about this. I also did not know about this operation. So I side with them. That to patrol within the unit with that inscription, police, definitely individual police officers who have been deployed at the polling station may not have any cause to complain about it because it has the police inscription on the vehicles that they were using.
Chief, you will agree with me, won't you, that if that is the case, then any group at all can masquerade themselves as police, get a vehicle with police insignia without a GP number, come in there, perpetuate whatever activity they wanted to, and go back without the police noticing.
Yes, I agree with you. That is, if the police have not been informed about this operation, definitely, and it means that anybody could also pass for any police operational unit and do whatever they want to do. I agree with you.
Chief, you will also agree with me that this is a clear evidence of lack of cooperation and coordination within the internal security organizations.
I do not disagree with you.
Going forward, what do you think we should do as far as this is concerned?
Well, there's a lot of room for improvement as far as coordination and collaboration is concerned.
IGP David Asante Apietu there. Well, he also said the officers who were at the scene on that fateful day are under investigation and that anyone found culpable will be dealt with.
What steps have you taken so far in respect of the conduct or behavior of police officers who were involved, who were part of the SWAT team and acted contrary to service regulations?
My Lord, the Police Professional Standards Bureau officers are keeping note of all these things. And as the investigation is going on, we are inviting everybody that took part in this operation at Ayawaso.
How soon do you think your investigation will be complete?
We have written on 2 occasions, and we're still waiting for the officers to be released. And I'm sure when we have interviewed all of them and other civilians who were also at the scene and gotten the doctor's report and then the forensic report, we are able to conclude and perhaps send the docket to the Attorney General for advice.
That's IGP David Asante Apietu there. Well, we'll also, as we go along, bring you a highlight of what was made of this gentleman who everybody knows now as Double, who was also at the scene, as we know. Now we know that his name is Bright Ernest Akomia. He was there. He was relieved after 2 hours of interrogation. We'll bring you a highlight of his interaction at the commission today. But let's go on the ground now and speak to our correspondent, Joseph Akable, who is following this for us. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Missy.
To say, but sum it all up for us. So today, essentially, what new did he add to what has been said so far by the people who came before him?
So a number of issues came up so far. The first issue has to do with the nature of the operation they were undertaking on the third day. If you recall, so far the National Security Ministers had informed the Commission that the men were deployed based on intelligence they picked up of stockpiling of some ammunition. But in the words of A.W.W himself, he explained that they were told a day before that they will be undertaking patrol duties, and that once they go about to undertake the patrol duties, further instructions will be obtained from their leaders, and they were under the directorship of DSP Azu, who is the commander of the SWAT unit attached to them. So that is the first issue that came up. The second one has to do with the altercation that's happened between the operatives and the residents in the neighborhood. Now, he says he was able to identify a number of the individuals. He named more than 5 of them. One of them he called Dragon, Sulepe, among others. And he says these are individuals that he knows as persons who are security men for the opposition NDC. And he was asked direct questions about whether or how he arrived at that conclusion that they were indeed performing security functions for the NDC. And he says he had heard about it. He had met them also on various occasions, even before the day of the by-election. The other issue was what had caused the violence that took place on that said day and caused the men to fire the multiple shots. He actually says they were a few meters away from the residence of the parliamentary candidates. They heard one gunshot. Then they were asked by their leaders to go over and check who had fired the shot. He explains that when they arrived at the location, they met 3 vehicles that had a number of people in the vehicle. So they attempted to search the 3 vehicles. It was at that point that he says the MP for Ningo Pram, Sam George, came over and told them that they are not going to allow the men to search their men or vehicles belonging to their men. So it was during that engagement that because the people were agitated as a result of the directives, according to him, from the MP, when the agitation kept increasing, that was when they were directed by their commander, DSP Samuel Azugu, had just joined them to fire warning shots. He was asked a direct question about how many shots his men fired, but he says he could not tell the exact number they fired, but he knows that a number of shots were fired. You recall again that Benjamin Tego, who testified yesterday, had told the commission that one man who was dressed in a military camouflage and wearing a helmet, which paired a video that was played yesterday and today, in fact, Double himself pointed that individual as being himself. Benjamin Tego had told the commission that Double did fire some gun shots. In fact, Sam George had also told the commission same, and you recall that Sam George had even added further that Double was using an AK-47. When he fired the first shot, it clocked, and he had to fix his weapon and fire more shots directed at the crowd. And in the words of Double, he says he never fired any shots, and that the AK-47 that he was wielding was a weapon that he borrowed from the driver who drove them to the location. And that driver is a police officer. Again, fitting in the narrative from the National Security Minister that the people are not allowed, that the operatives are not allowed to carry arms. So he says they were not issued with arms, but when they got to the place, because they were going to inspect the gunshot that he had heard from behind, they went along with the gun. Other questions were asked about whether indeed he had any prior activity as a vigilante that is belonging to the NPP's invincible forces, but he said that was not the case. In terms of his prior profession before joining national security, he informed the commission that he was a phone seller at Circle before he heard of recruitment to the national security. He was vetted and he passed, and his thumbprints were taken, and he has since been a member of the national security station at the Kotoka International Airport.
And it's interesting how that the conversation went on from being stationed at the Kotoka International Airport, because then he brings up information that seeks to suggest that he had helped the Member of Parliament, Sam George, in a certain way.
Yes, so if the first issue has to do with access to that facility, and that there had been an occasion where, because he said he was at a VVIP session, and there had been an occasion where the MP had wanted to use that session and was not being allowed, so he had to intervene. In fact, he even says that just the Sunday before Mr. George came to testify, he met him again, and his vehicle had been impounded by some AMA officials, and again he was called upon, and that Mr. George intervened. And the concern from the commission was that it meant that as a national security operative station at the castle, at the airport, he's assisting various members of parliament to break the law. And he said that he had done that just twice, and that Mr. George knows him very well since that engagement with him. And in fact, Mr. George had informed him that Mr. George, was coming to testify before the commission.
Interesting. Wrap that up for us. It took what, 2 hours?
Yes.
2 hours. 2 hours for that engagement, and this is probably because there was an interpreter. And at the point, we even saw the lawyer laughing. What was he laughing at?
So a number of issues. I mean, it was very. I mean, for those who were in the Commission's conference room, laughing was a very usual feature. It could either be as a result of the responses that were being provided, or could be attributed to the interpretation, because that was also a bit problematic in terms of clarity. In fact, there were moments when the chair commissioners had to themselves come in to assist the interpreter. We are told that this was the first time trying to do that, and so that was a bit challenging, and there were moments of laughter also during that. And so those were some of the things that got people laughing about the utterances coming from Double himself.
I'll have you hang out for me, Joseph, because we're going to play for our viewers the CDD's testimony earlier today, a highlight of the CDD's testimony, so that when we come back with you, we can get a wrap of what the CDD has added to the ongoing conversation as well, and then we'll call it a day with you. So the CDD was represented, of course. They had a report after that, as part of CODEO. They had a report after that Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. So they testified today. Hear them out.
According to the CODEO report, the interim report I mean, there was a particular incident at the prison's polling station where a police officer was assaulted for directing a national security operative as to where to sit. Is that the case?
Yes, please. That's the case.
Now, we have had the Director of Electoral Commission here, who says that incident did not happen. What have you got to say? What actually happened?
Well, thank you, my lord. What happened, according to the account from our observer at our polling station, was that there were different types of security operatives there. There were those in uniform, official uniforms, and others who were not wearing official uniforms but had accreditation tags that were inscribed as NSCS also there. Those people were sitting in the inner perimeter of the electoral area or the polling center, whilst the uniform security operatives were sitting a bit distant from the polling center. So one of the uniform police officers called the other officers to ask them who they were, and also asked him to distance himself, stand a bit far from when the polling was taking place. So he obliged, but not too long, a group of people in similar dress came in a pickup and went straight to the uniform police officer to ask why he was questioning their colleague, and that started the misunderstanding between them.
Was it a mere misunderstanding or it resulted in an assault?
From the account from our observer, it caused commotion in the area at the polling center to the extent that some of the people started running away. So she did not stand till what happened afterwards. But so when he saw there was tension there and people started running away, she also took cover.
So is it a case that she did not witness any specific assault on a police officer?
No, from what she told us, there were no physical blows between them. There were no physical assaults on the police officer. But when the melee started, when the people, the reinforcement as I called, the people who came on the behalf of their colleagues started exchanging words with the police officer, he left the place.
That's the CDD's testimony earlier today. Joseph, you're still there, aren't you?
Yes, Gifty.
Right. So the CDD also came. They talked about this specific police officer who was referred to in their report earlier. How does it contradict or fall in line with what we know from the commission sitting so far?
In fact, this has been a very controversial subject even before the commission started its work. You recall that right after the CDD issued that report, the Electoral Commission had written a statement saying that that did not happen. In fact, in the main declaration of the final results, the Electoral Commission chairperson did say that they had checked with their polling station officials and the presiding officer, but that incident did not happen. When Madame Jen Mensah took a turn before the Commission of Inquiry, she repeated that again and even supplied information to the Commission about details of the police officers who were stationed at that particular location and their contact numbers for the Commission to cross-check if they find it necessary, because he says no such incident happened. But the CDD came over and they stick to their guns and insist that that is a report that they received. And that is when you had one professor who has been with the CDD and CODEO for a long time come to talk about the mechanisms that they do for their monitoring and how they trust what comes up eventually out of it. So that is it in terms of the scope of affairs. It's a funny issue and it appears, and it's one of the many issues that the Commission would have to arrive at some conclusion on.
Okay. Well, let's wrap it all up. So today we have the CDD, we have the IGP, we have A.W.W, who we now know as Ernest Akomia, with their testimonies. How do we put all together? How does it? Do we have an idea how it contributes to the conversation so far?
So a number of information has come up so far. When Mr. George appeared before the commission, the bit about the key was one issue that was very confusing for a lot of those here and even the commissioners themselves. And that is why Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu, during her engagement with the Nego Pram MP, kept asking him directly that why was he trying to retrieve the key? What does the key open? And Mr. George said he didn't know who owns the key. He didn't know what the key was for. But he had identified the key as the source of the disagreement between the agitating crowd and the security operatives, for which reason he had tried to intervene. Now, in terms of the work of the commission, at least some light has been shed on that matter. We know that it's a key of a vehicle that the security operatives were attempting to search, that they were not successful at searching, and they had actually taken the key. And that was the issue that had also led to the disturbance that occurred. Again, another conflicting information that is coming up has to do with the subject of the gunshots. At least we are now being told again directly that other gunshots were heard from the crowd, not attributed to the national security operative. That is according to the A.W.W as he testified before the commission. So that is also one issue that has come up in terms of the work of the commission. Again, the bit about the accounting and the ballistics that will have to be done, because mind you, we had been told that only 6 shots were fired. A.W.W insists that his AK-47 did not fire any shots. There had been contradictory evidence to that, and he has again said that if the analysis is done and the number of firearms that ammunition was handed a particular weapon, everything is put together to arrive at the conclusion that he didn't fire any shots. So the ballistics work that is being done by the police forensics department is certainly a key aspect of the work of the commission. That expectation will be that once that report arrives, it will be something that will assist the work of the commission. The IGP himself, who told the commission was a ballistics expert, also had some views on the analysis of the crime scene. He had also been to the crime scene himself. And he makes the point again that assessing the area and the number of gunshots that are alleged to have been fired and aimed, he believes that if indeed the gunshots were targeted, as Mr. Tego, who was an eyewitness, had testified before the commission yesterday, there should have been a number of fatalities, but that did not happen. So that is his opinion on the crime scene and whether indeed the gunshots were aimed or not. So in terms of those aspects, some issues, the number of gunshots that have been fired, who fired them, and whether they were indeed casualties or whether they were responses from the others, are all issues that the commission keeps getting a bit of contradictory information on, and those are the issues that the commission will obviously have to arrive at some conclusion that eventually when it puts together its final report.
Certainly, and in the Commission's wisdom, certainly we'll be hoping to get that conclusion soon. Joseph, thank you very much for that update. Joseph Akable there monitoring for us the sitting, the Emoshot Commission sitting ongoing at the Christian Book Castle. Now, we know that the Commission will be resuming work on Thursday, because tomorrow is obviously a holiday. But before we leave this conversation, here is A.W.W with his narration on what happened.
What took you to the area of the incident?
Ipacho sene widi kakaya no. Tamwa na Mr. Azugun mo directed traffic no. Wama obiya nsi form. Yeah, and you're watching the na etetikai nim. Enti
when Mr. Azugu was directing the traffic, nobody got down from the car.
Enti be akra no na yehu motorbikes nkrofo so mi no ne miensa motorbikes be 10 to 15.
So whilst we were in the car, we saw about 15 motorbikes coming towards our direction.
And cars 3 idiachi.
And there were 3 cars behind.
Timoto car ni drove baby police for no Mr. Zugun one and na ejina na omo wachi ni see.
So when they got to where Mr. Azugu was, they stopped and then they got down.
And riders na kita moto no omo riding moto no far school na energy area.
So the riders went behind the school.
Nti me ho video me ho say na Mr. Zugu ne omo din komo ase omo din komo yensi form.
So I saw Mr. Azugu interacting with them, but we didn't get down from the vehicle.
Nti okay nim na take gunshot.
So whilst we were in the car, we heard a gunshot.
And Mr. Azugu ka say yinti from na yankoshe desio.
So Mr. Azugu told us to get down and go and investigate.
Nti yekodru ho no na enipa ne doso pa.
So when we got there, there was a large crowd.
Ana motorbikes and so go. Ana 3 cars, 3 pickups.
So the motorbikes were there and there were 3 pickups.
Na pickups 3 ne de oma enipa titima ayama nkaibetu.
There were people in the pickups.
Nti idru ho no na ibisa se hwan na tutu no obia mwaye.
So when we got there, we asked who gave the warning shot, but nobody answered.
Na Mr. Zugu said enipa na ho no omodoso. Nti onfa men no emra.
So when we got there, we told Mr. Azugu that the people were a lot, so that he should bring more people.
Mr. Azugu ba na yama omo woka na monyana isi form.
So we told the people to alight in the car, those who were in the car, to alight.
Tiebe started about search ewo makanim.
So we started to search the car.
Tamwa, the started say a bear search na Honorable Sam George, a baby draw.
So when we started the search, that's when Mr. Honorable Sam George got there.
Tama no my idea, Tama Casa be search no. Omo complain na omunyana say any search no.
Before he got there, they agreed that we would search the car.
Nti obedru of paper na obisa say odru of very start here adena mo intimidate me microphone sir. Nti no shout.
When he got there, he started shouting and asking why they are intimidating his people.
And Miss Naminimo, me de bin born do name me. Timmy approaching, who say member of parliament approaching am kajan say honorable Chona, any panel door so ha. Anya no be the diabo to do nya yes search ke.
So I told him that I knew him, but he didn't know me. So I told him that he should get away from the place so that we could do the search.
No search be anko so ho. Obia ntimenya search o say na ma microphone no so start here say obia nya search bia nti na fe da dane dede.
He told them that there was not going to be any search, so the people got agitated as well.
In fact, na ene nya na fe de nipa na ene o mukasa boko na fe de aye manya yimfi onko mumfi onko obia fi onko.
So the people told us to get away from there since Mr. Honorable Sam George told them that there was not going to be any search.
Nti yes no. Na igidi nti me kwa me call Honorable Sam George me ne two boys na me say emfa Honorable Nkwachiri se na crowd no ebetimi apushi o makwachi na se yen be kwa yakọ.
So I told two boys to come with me so that we could push Honorable Sam George to the side so that we could get the crowd.
Ernest Akomia, the popularly now known as Double, with his testimony at the Milshot Commission earlier this afternoon. And of course, on Thursday, we'll continue with the action from there. But right now, there's a letter coming from the Presidency. The letter is a response to a letter written by the NDC to the Presidency regarding that meeting that President Akufo-Addo had directed the NPP to have. And this is all about disbanding party militias now, which is a campaign that we here at JoyNews are running.